show you this too. This is something that I've not seen a lot of people talk about, but to me this is very, very clever, and Caesar brags about it. So again, this is Julius Caesar. This is him himself talking about what he did. And I want to ask you, can you see what it is that Caesar's doing here? So this is what Caesar does on the eve of his civil war. He borrowed sums of money from the tribunes and the centurions. So these are his officers, right? These are his military officers. And he distributed this money, so he gives this same money among the soldiers. By this proceeding, he gained two results. He established a lien on the loyalty of the centurions, and he purchased by the bounty the goodwill of the troops. What is this saying? What is Caesar doing here?
Caesar's taking money from his officers, which means that they want him to win because then he can pay the money back.
Okay, if he loses, he can't pay them back. Yeah, go ahead.
And then by giving money to the soldiers, he's buying their loyalty.
Yeah, great. It's clever. It's very, very clever. Yeah. So as this is, as Joseph rightly explains, he's engendering loyalty from his soldiers by giving them money, although it's not his money. He's borrowed it. He doesn't need to borrow this money. He's rich, right? But this is like using the Roman rules of patronage. This is, again, it was useful for you to know about patronage just generally because it's important to the system. But I think now you can really understand, even just a small thing like this. Easy to forget this in the whole military tactics and Pompey and Caesar and propaganda. This is also using something that the Romans would really understand, like the social rules of the society, to get these soldiers loyal to him and to force his officers to not leave him. Remember what happened with Sulla? Sulla declared that he was going to march on Rome after Marius wrestled away the command. Who deserted him? His officers. Sulla's officers left him. Julius Caesar does not want that to happen. And so he makes them indebted to him so that they are dependent upon him winning the Civil War if they want to get that money back. Super clever guy, right? Very, very clever guy, I think. So let's talk about Caesar and Pompey's strategy. So I said this at the beginning. What was Pompey's strategy and kind of why was it a problem? Why did it lead to Pompey snatching defeat from the jaws of victory? Well, let's look at what happens after Julius Caesar crosses the Rubicon. So he's up here in Ravenna, which is an easily defensible city in the southernmost part of Caesar's province. And there's the Rubicon River, the Rubicon Creek. He crosses over it, and Caesar moves. This is Caesar's movement. Okay, so Caesar moves down, and he moves through these cities, and some of these are Pompeian, by the way. And he's generally not resisted up to this point. What I find so weird is, after all of this talk, this talk in the sources, which make it clear that there was fear of a civil war, suddenly when Caesar actually crosses the Rubicon, Pompey and members of the Senate act like they did not see it coming. And they kind of panic. So they book it. So the first thing that Pompey does is he and a bunch of senators just get out of Rome. And I don't know, there are some historians that think that maybe they didn't have very good intelligence and that they thought that Caesar had a way bigger army than he would have. I don't see how I think they could defend Rome. I think they could have held Rome. They have legions in Italy. I don't know why they leave. So that's the first thing. They also tend to think that Caesar is closer than he is. So, and one of your sources talked about this, the guy that's in charge of the treasury, who's a Pompey loyalist, thinks that Caesar is about to come into the city. And he's like, we don't have time to move all this gold and silver. We just got to get out of here. And they leave all of the money in the treasury. Again, if you're going to leave Rome, at least take the gold and silver. But they don't. And so they leave all of that for Julius Caesar. So Julius Caesar kind of marches down, and he runs into his first resistance, kind of funnily enough, at Corfinium, right? This city of this old Italian capital during the Social War. The guy that he runs into there is a guy named Domitius, and Domitius is an optimatus. He's one of the good men, one of the conservatives in the Senate, and this is emblematic of why things go wrong for Pompey. Domitius has been told by Pompey is used to telling people what, he's a commander. He's used to telling people what to do and having them do it. And he knows what he's doing. He's kind of conquered the whole east of the Mediterranean, defeated the pirates, secured the Roman grain supply, defeated Sertorius in Spain, rounded up the Marian rebels in Africa and Sicily. He's triumphed multiple times. He's got coins with him and the Hercules lion. Pompey knows what he's doing, and he tells these, uppity, mucky-muck, upper-class senators, you need to do what I tell you. He tells this guy to leave, and he won't do it. And so Domitius tries to fight Julius Caesar in Corfinium. And of course he loses, right? And he loses. Now, the first thing there is that Pompey can't get these self-important members of the Senate to do what he tells them. That's the first problem he's got. The second is Julius Caesar decides this time and many other times during the Civil War to extend an amnesty to the soldiers that had just fought against him. So when Domitius loses, Julius Caesar gathers the soldiers that were on the other side and the officers, and he offers them the opportunity to join his army. He says, hey, look, I'm not only going to give you amnesty, why not join the winning side? You can come over and join us. If you don't, fine, you can walk away. We will not harm you. We will not hold your families hostage. We're not going to do anything like that. It's a tremendous act of mercy which really sets the tone for what Julius Caesar is going to do. And it wins him a lot of allies in Italy because of his mercy, right? This does not look like Sulla marching on Rome. This looks like something different. Meanwhile, then there's Pompey. Pompey is overtly saying he is going to imitate Sulla. This is Cicero, who at this point is still in Rome. So he has not decided. Cicero is a bit of a wishy-washy guy. He wants to join the winning side. He even says this in a letter. I don't think I had you read this letter. Maybe you did. He's like, if only we could figure out which side is going to win, and then I could join them. Like he does not have. He likes Pompey, obviously, but he also doesn't want to die. And so he's trying to figure out which side to join. So he stays in Rome. He does not leave immediately with Pompey. And he writes a letter. Everyone's writing letters to each other, by the way. Cicero's writing to Pompey. Pompey's writing to Cicero. Caesar's writing to Cicero. Caesar's writing to Pompey. They're writing letters back and forth to kind of still try to negotiate things. And Cicero tells his friend, I don't remember if this is Atticus or who this is to, one of his freedmen or so, I can't remember who it's to. But he says that Pompey has set his heart to a surprising degree on imitating Sulla. And he says how it is that he is going to imitate Sulla. So he mentions three things that he's going to do. First, he's going to choke off the city, that's Rome, and Italy by starving them. So Pompey leaves Italy, and he goes over to Greece, where he's going to raise a bunch of mercenaries, and he's going to come back to Rome. Pompey may have said that he's going to imitate Sulla by marching on Rome from the east. That might be part of what he meant. But for Cicero, he thinks it's way more than that, right? First of all, they're going to cut off Italy. They're going to blockade Italy. This is a huge deal. Rome is fed by outside grain. If you can cut off the supply of grain from the city of Rome, it will take a few weeks, and especially if it's in the spring, when grain is already short and the harvest hasn't come in yet, and the new shipments haven't come in yet, they're going to get real mad real quick. The people in Rome, if they're not getting their free grain, that has been established that there's an entitlement to free grain. So if that can happen, you're going to have food riots. Caesar's going to have to deal with that. That's going to be a problem. So that's the first step. The next step is to devastate the country with fire and sword. Pompey's going to take his army, partly of foreigners, into Italy, and they are going to start burning cities, looting, conquering Italy as though it's a foreign territory. Can't imagine that went over a lot of hearts and minds in the cities of Italy. So then there's that. And then, it couldn't have been worse. And this is Cicero. This is not some like Caesarian propaganda. This is a guy who likes Pompey. Then he says the third thing they're going to do is they're going to prescribe, right? They're going to prescribe the wealthy. You remember what this is. This is put people on official kill lists and take their and take their money. So again, this is directly imitating Sulla. So if you are a member of the elite, and you're not sure which side you're going to be on, right? Are you going to go with the merciful guy? Or are you going to go with the bloodthirsty, awful guy who's going to come and burn your farms and take your money? So this whole approach from Pompey, I cannot imagine, was very attractive compared to Caesar's clemency. Caesar's troops were literally fighting for their lives. If they lose, they're going to face this. They're going to face proscription and everything else. There's no joining Pompey's team, where it's very easy to join Caesar's team. So you can see how this is a losing policy for Pompey over the course of time. Cicero, however, decides that he ultimately does not want to stay with Caesar, and stay in Rome. He was never allied with Caesar, but he eventually decides to leave. And Caesar lets him, by the way. Caesar lets him go to Pompey. Again, merciful, right? And I think that's probably in the back of Cicero's mind. And I'm sure he's mentioning this to people he talks to when he goes over to Pompey's camp. So yeah, Caesar is really suggesting that he is not going to become a Sulla. In fact, he is even awarded the dictatorship when he gets to Rome. He is appointed dictator by the folks in the Senate that are still there. You almost have two Senates now. You have the Senate with Pompey, and you have the Senate in Rome. The Senate in Rome declared Julius Caesar the dictator. He does a couple of things, and I'll lay out all of Caesar's reforms in a little bit. So he does a few like economic reforms and things that he implements, and then he resigns. He resigns the dictatorship. So again, this does not look like a Sulla. This does not. I mean, Sulla resigned, but after 2 years. Caesar clearly looks like he does not want power. At this point, the civil war begins. If there were any attempts to negotiate between Pompey and Caesar and Cicero and Cato, and not Cato, he wouldn't negotiate with anybody, but most of these other people, they fail. And so now you start to get the action. And this map is really nice because it kind of lays out what happens. The green line there is Julius Caesar coming in and conquering Rome, or not. Again, he didn't really take it. Nobody was preventing him from taking it, but occupying Rome. And then this blue line is the first thing he does. So Pompey Sextus has got a couple of sons. I've spelled that wrong again. Laura, help me.
Gnaeus.
Yeah, there we go. He's got two sons, Gnaeus and Sextus, over in Spain. Pompey does. So those guys are over there. And obviously Caesar does not want to be attacked from two sides because he's got Pompey over here and he's got this other group of Pompeians over here because Pompey has been, not so much in Gaul, really in Spain. I should clarify this a little bit. We're really talking about Spain. Right there. So he needs to obviously pick a front. So he initially goes over to Spain and fights Pompey's two sons. He leaves one of his loyal tribunes in charge, a guy named Mark Antony. You should remember this name. He's going to be very important. Mark Antony is one of his tribunes, a guy that had been with him off and on in Gaul as well, commander, military man, also kind of, a guy of sketchy reputation in some ways, but Caesar leaves him in charge of Rome. And he goes over to Spain to deal with the various Pompeian loyalists there and secure his flank and his supply lines, which he does very successfully in 49 BC, and then he heads back to Rome. He then gathers up Mark Antony, so he's done all of this. There we go. There's all that. So he gathers up Mark Antony, he's got Spain secured, and now you can see from the yellow line that he heads over to Greece. So he goes over to Greece with Mark Antony, and he confronts Pompey. Now, this is another part where Pompey's strategy starts to fail. Again, Pompey's got all these senators with him, these conservative senators. They hate Julius Caesar and just want him punished, want him dead as soon as possible. They actually do have a pitched battle right at the kind of midway point of this year. So this would be April to June-ish, if I remember correctly, of 48 BC. So there's a pitched battle where Pompey's camp is sort of surrounded by Julius Caesar's forces, and they kind of fight off and on over the course of several months. And And Julius Caesar can't take it. I can't take Pompey's camp. So by the time we get to June, this offensive from Julius Caesar is essentially a failure, and he has to retreat. His army starts to panic and run off after a failed siege for a couple of months. It's weird though, because Pompey decides that he's not going to pursue Caesar. So Caesar's soldiers are running away. Like, you could get a rout at this point, which is the best way to kill a lot of people. When they're panicked, they're flung down their weapons. You could just mop through you can kill tens of thousands of guys in that. That's when the real casualties in a battle tend to happen, is in a rout. And Pompey decides to hold his soldiers back, and the guys around him question him for this. Like, all these conservative senators are like, you should have gone after Caesar. Like, why didn't you do that? You need to go after Caesar. And they just start nagging him over the next month. Like, you should have gone after Caesar. You need to go after Caesar. You need to go get him. Every second he's alive is a threat to the Republic. And, he's just getting these nagging, senators in his ear constantly. And so eventually Pompey decides to listen to them. He goes against his better judgment. And this little battle symbol here on the map represents a place called Pharsalus, which is where Pompey decides that he is going to attack Caesar outright. And it looks good. Julius Caesar has got maybe 25 is probably generous. We'll say 23,000. He's got maybe 23,000 soldiers, Caesar. And Pompey has got, as low as 40, but as high as maybe 55, 52. So we'll just, again, maybe 50,000, maybe a little bit less. But the point is, Pompey's got about twice the soldiers that Caesar does. So, and then Pharsalus is a nice, plain, even Steven. So based on numbers, Pompey's a better general than Caesar, I think. I think Pompey's going to win this. It looks like Pompey's going to win this. Julius Caesar knows this, and what he does in the battle is, first of all, he spreads out his lines. So instead of having the traditional, I don't remember how many it is, 10, 6, I don't remember how many deep each line is. We talked about it. I'm sorry, I can't remember it. But he really reduces it. Like, these are really thin lines so that he can spread them out. Because obviously Pompey's got more troops. So if Julius Caesar can thin out his troops, he can get them as wide as Pompey's lines are. And then he takes 1,000 or 2 of his foot soldiers, and he takes them and kind of hides them behind his cavalry. So you got the cavalry. I mean, I don't know how to draw this. I'm not going to try. The cavalry are on the side, right? They're on the flanks. So you got the cavalry on the side. And again, so the order of battle is the foot soldiers lock up, which is what they do, and then the cavalry fight on the edges. And typically, if a cavalry contingent can beat the other one, that then allows them to curve up and then attack the flanks of the foot soldiers, which tends to be what turns the battle. That's like 90% of the battles in the ancient world. That's like the big thing that turns the battle, is the cavalry being able to outflank the foot soldiers. So, and Pompey has every expectation this is going to happen. But then, the guys that Caesar had hidden with his cavalry come out when Pompey's cavalry charge, and they've got spears. And that's kind of the weak point for the cavalry. The horses, sword's not going to do much, but a long spear, yeah, that's going to do some damage to, the horse's own momentum is going to carry them into these spears. I don't know if you've seen Braveheart, like famous scene in Braveheart, right, where they do something like this. And that's what happens. So Pompey's cavalry get destroyed by this combination of Julius Caesar's cavalry with the hidden foot soldiers in there. And then that allows Caesar's cavalry now to curve up. And despite the fact that Pompey brought almost twice the number of soldiers, he loses. He loses this battle, and he loses it badly. And this is the battle. This is like the pitched battle that his senatorial allies wanted him to have. And he loses it. And he's so, there are some, Plutarch, the biographer, who knows if this is true, Plutarch says that Pompey actually had to disguise himself. That he throws off all of his insignia of being a general and a senator, and he dresses up, I think Plutarch says like a merchant or something, I can't remember. And he shirks away, and he runs off. And the yellow line shows you where he goes. He goes off to Egypt after the Battle of Pharsalus. It's basically over at this point. He goes off to Egypt because he hopes that he can... there's kind of a brooding civil war in Egypt, and Pompey is hoping that he can get in with the guy that's currently Pharaoh in Egypt, and he's fighting right now against his sister. His sister's name, by the way, is Cleopatra, if you've heard of that name before. So that's where Pompey goes over there. And some of the other guys, they just disperse. Like they go down here, Africa, go back to Spain. Like basically this whole battle scatters the Pompeians and the Republicans. So that's Pharsalus. The problem with Pompey is he miscalculated the loyalty of these guys in Egypt. And when he gets there, he's assassinated. The Egyptian pharaoh has him assassinated and beheaded. And the pharaoh sends the head of Pompey over to Caesar. And Caesar's furious. Caesar's absolutely furious. Because, of course, after the Battle of Pharsalus, Caesar pardons everybody. That's like it's what he wants to do. He wants to be really magnanimous. And he wants to extend generosity to, it's a great way to show that you defeated people, is you have the right to give exceptions. That's a sign of rule, a sign of power. And so that's what he wants to do to Pompey. That would be the ultimate own, is to show mercy to this guy that fought him. Be better than killing him. And especially to have a foreigner, to have an Egyptian kill him, right? It's undignified. I think the HBO series really represents this well. Caesar's really mad. And he's like vengeful. He's like really mad. This is like the thing in the show that turns Caesar against this pharaoh. So Caesar follows Pompey to Egypt, and he decides to intervene in the civil war on the side of Cleopatra. Who knows why he really does this? He might have made a calculation. He might have been personally offended with this pharaoh, but who knows? But he goes to Egypt. He doesn't arrive in Egypt until like September. And that's really important because at this point the Mediterranean Sea is too stormy. And it's very difficult to sail. It's a little bit dangerous to sail in the sea at this point. The waves get a lot higher. The winds become worse. And so Caesar just camps out in Egypt for a year. He helps Cleopatra win the throne of Egypt against her brother, sleeps with her, of course, has a son who Cleopatra will name Caesarion after the son's father. I want you to remember this guy. Now, this is not Caesar's legitimate child. Caesar has a wife. He's married. So this is not a legitimate child. But of course, Cleopatra wants to signify the kid's parentage. This is the son of Caesar, and this will be important later on. It does seem like Julius Caesar and Cleopatra had more than just a fling, and I'll explain why this is in a little bit. Like he put statues of her in Rome. He seems to have really kind of been taken by her, and based on descriptions of her, she seems like a very she's like a very attractive woman in the sense that she is brilliant and she's a conversationalist. She's charming. I don't know if she's pretty. I don't know. We might have like a Sydney Sweeney thing going on here, where it's like, is she not? I don't know. But the point is, he's totally taken by her. At this point, I'm not actually finished with the map. I need to talk about Cato. Yeah, because we need to wrap up Cato. At this point, Caesar now goes back to Rome. Caesar now goes back to Rome for a little bit. He is given, by the way, each time he goes back to Rome, he's awarded a consulship. Like they just vote him in as consul. And now in 47 BC and 46 BC, he spends in Africa, which you can see there, the orange line. The main battle there, this right here, these arrows, this is the Battle of Thapsus, where Cato is largely in charge of the little bit of resistance to Caesar that's there. And Caesar wins this battle, of course, and Cato is not killed in the battle. And Caesar wants to do his thing after the battle where he extends mercy to everybody. And Cato is not having it. Cato will not do this. There's a great account of Cato in Plutarch. Again, who knows how much of it is true, but I recommend reading it. It just talks about Cato ultimately deciding to kill himself rather than submit to Caesar. And for some people, this is the end of the Republic, because Cato is kind of the last constitutionalist. Again, is he perfect? No. He had voted for the execution of those Romans when Cicero was consul. But Cato sort of is the kind of conscience of the Republic in many ways, and he is seen to this day as kind of the patron saint of Republicans, I would say. Not Republicans, capital R, the party, but people that want a republic in the various countries that they are in. So Cato stabs himself to death. The last real thorn in Julius Caesar's side, right? Cato was the one that was threatening prosecution. And the suicide of Cato is seen by many in 47 and 46 BC as the death of the Republic. At this point, Julius Caesar goes back to Rome, and he is triumphant when he returns to Rome. He ended the wars. The civil wars are now over. He started them, but he ended them too. He celebrates 5 triumphs. And again, I just think this is just a little, I feel like it's just a little like jab at Pompey. Pompey celebrated 3 triumphs, and so Caesar now is going to celebrate 5 triumphs. And he explains all the, Suetonius goes through, these are all the triumphs that he celebrates. He says this famous phrase, I came, I saw, I conquered. To every one of his foot soldiers, he gave loot, besides the 2,000, 24,000 sesterces. 24,000 sesterces is almost a full career's worth of a bonus. I mean, imagine all the money you are going to make in your career, and you're IU students, so you might make some money. So not a lot, but you'll make a little bit. But imagine all of that piled together. That's a big bonus. Right? That's still a very, very big bonus. So he gives that out to his soldiers. Very, very impressive. Celebrates 5 triumphs, the forgiveness, grants plots of land. Oh, and I really like this. Like, see, look, just little things that he's doing to try to kind of avoid past injustices. So he does not do it in a way which antagonizes the Italian property owners, right? Very smart, right, Julius Caesar. To each man of the people he gave besides 2 modii of wheat. So this is, like a month's worth of wheat for one person, maybe thereabouts, a little bit less than that. 2 pounds of olive oil is what that's referencing. Not seed oils. The 300, that's probably not fair. That's not very nice. The 300 sesterces he had once promised, along with an extra 100 to make up for the delay. So he pays out a lot of money, gives it all out to the people. This is obviously very endearing to him. And then, again, just to go back to my map, he goes back to Spain now a second time, where we'll just call him G, Gnaeus, is killed, because I can't spell it. But Sextus is kept alive. And again, I want you to remember this too, because Sextus will carry on the legacy of his father later.
Hey, did you get something out of that video, or maybe learn something about Roman history that you didn't know before? Would you just click that like button? It's the best thing you can do to help the channel. The videos keep playing, and if you click the like button, it tells YouTube that you want more videos like this one. Maybe you have a question about what we talked about, or you know something, or have a comment that you want to share. Would you please type that into the comment box? I read those comments. That means I answer questions, or I listen to feedback, but also a lot of other people read those comments. And so if you want to add something to the discussion for other people, if you do that in the comments, that will help the video as well, and just it'll keep the discussion going. Finally, if you want to get these videos when they come out and not just hope that YouTube is going to tell you, you can subscribe to the channel. Click the subscribe button and you'll get the videos as soon as I put them out. They'll come up to the front of your YouTube homepage, and wouldn't that be great? The last thing that I'll mention is my podcast, the Pax Romana podcast. I update that podcast every week. We do a couple of different things. One is we go through the story of the Roman Empire, from the death of Julius Caesar on a week-by-week basis, all the way through as far as you guys are interested in going. I think right now we're in the 3rd century AD. So you can listen to those as they go, almost like an audiobook. It's free. Or if you want to just dip into particular episodes, that's fine. The other thing I do from time to time on that podcast is I answer listener questions with kind of a longer treatment about some particular topic, theme, or area that listeners are interested in. So with that, thanks for watching the video and take care.